The House of the Dead games have a special place in my heart. I've played a fair few light gun games in the past, both in arcade and at home on the couch. These games include Time Crisis, Virtua Cop, and of course the topic of this video, The House of the Dead. It's probably not hard to guess which one of those three is my favourite. I should probably preface this interview by stating that I haven't played a whole lot of the original. I've got a lot of love for it, but I was unfortunately not able to find many of them in the arcades very often, so I haven't really had much experience with the first game as much as I would like. However, I have played a lot of the sequel, which to my knowledge is also getting a remake soon. But with all that said and done, let's get into the review. As far as gameplay goes, the House of the Dead remake is nearly identical when it comes to the core fundamentals. You aim using a reticle and you shoot every zombie you come across until they're dead. Very simple. Seeing as a light gun game, the camera moves for you and set paths depending on the actions you take, whether it be shooting specific enemies, saving or failing to save specific scientists throughout the level. House of the Dead is separated into 4 separate chapters, each varying from 10 to 20ish minutes in length. The goal of each chapter is to survive an onslaught of zombies, making your way through a distinct location while also making sure you save every scientist you can. Saving scientists either gives you an extra bonus score or an extra hit point. If you run out of hit points, you are put into the continue state where you either part with one of your precious continues or let yourself die, although I don't really know anyone who would do that. You are given 10 continues with the option to spend 5,000 points off your current in-game score to buy an extra continue after all 10 are depleted. At the end of the game, you will receive a rating based on how well you did throughout the game by accumulating a high score and saving as many scientists as possible. Now, as far as how well the remake holds up, well, for me it feels like playing the original with updated visuals, which is a good thing. Something about House of the Dead's art style has always resonated with me, whether it's the stereotypical designs of something like the chainsaw zombie or the old low poly look, lack of proper lighting. What is clear at the end of the day though is that it works really well. The remake holds up very well in this regard. I mean, it's not very hard to make a game that looks more visually appealing than the original House of the Dead, considering it's no longer 1996. But speaking generally, the art style feels right at home and is exactly what I would expect if I took some magic goggles that simply rendered 96 graphics as they would be today. Everything looks accurate to the original, with higher quality models and textures. Where the remake fails to deliver, however, is performance. That's not to say the developers haven't done a good job optimizing this title for the Nintendo Switch. The problem is that they are optimizing a title for the Nintendo Switch. The game gives you the option to toggle a performance mode. Based on my experience with the game, this removes most, if not all, of the post-processing effects, which gives a less atmospheric look to the game. However, this isn't necessarily a con, as a lot of the post-processing effects in my experience got in the way, especially lens flares. The major caveat with performance mode seems to be a much lower rendering resolution. Now mind you, it's not horrible to look at. I always play this game using performance mode, and in most cases up close on my 1080p monitor, and I personally don't think it looks all that bad. It would be a lie, however, to say that it isn't noticeable, to say the least. I don't think it would be an overstatement to say this game could use some love from next-gen consoles or the PC. These games have always had catchy music, such as the opening organ theme. Tunes like that stick with me and they really add to the horror vibe. I think I speak for a lot of fellow fans when I say we were really hoping for more or less remixed versions of the original songs from the soundtrack. Sad to say that isn't really the case. Unfortunately, it seems the developers were unable to get the rights to the original music, which is a damn shame, as I believe it's the only thing missing from making this game a true-to-form remake. However, what we did get was very good, and I believe the composer did some amazing work considering what he was up against, and that's not even to say there weren't any references to the original. There were melodies in certain tracks that more or less lined up with the former version. Not to mention that the completely new tracks are very well made. It feels like the same instruments were used to create new tracks, with a few hidden Easter eggs to echo the original feeling. All in all, I'm very happy with the music, but hopefully the licensing issues get resolved for House of the Dead 2 Remake. Now, despite being a remake, there are some new special features added, such as the gallery, a place where you can take a look at all the various creatures, achievements, and the armory. By saving every scientist in the game, you will unlock the armory. Once unlocked, you'll find a secret chest within every chapter of the game. Shooting these chests reveals a hidden weapon. There is one for each chapter. Once unlocked, you can switch between them on the fly, although I prefer to stick with the pistol, as practically all of them are way too overpowered and take away the fun for me. Still a very cool addition, I'm very glad to see it. Another addition is the modern scoring setting that changes up the flow of how scores accumulate compared to the classic style of the original game. The modern setting also allows you to change the character you play as, however I would like for that to be added to the base classic score mode too for convenience sake. The final and most notable addition is the inclusion of the Horde mode. This is the exact same experience. You play through the chapters, you save scientists and you kill bosses, with one major addition: a fuck ton of zombies, and I mean a fuck ton. So many that the frame rate tanks from the amount of blood flying everywhere. I'm not sure personally if I would play this casually more often. I prefer the more laid back style of the original mode, but for a power fantasy, it's a lot of fun with the new weapons from the armory. All in all, whether you love it or hate it, it's House of the Dead. As someone who personally loves it, I had a lot of fun. And no doubt I'll be playing a lot more of the House of the Dead remake, and will be keeping a keen eye out for the sequel whenever that graces the Switch. The game definitely has some issues here and there, but to me the pros outweigh the cons. I think the game is brilliant, honestly, for what it is, especially running on a handheld device. I would highly recommend checking out House of the Dead Remake. It's a very short game with a ton of replayability, great fun with family, brilliant price point, and if you're a fan of the original, it's sure to bring back a lot of memories from the arcade days. I hope you all enjoyed my first ever video review. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day, and yeah, have a good one.